So the brand new PlayStation Plus just launched yesterday. Sony's attempt to compete with the likes of Xbox Game Pass and Nintendo Switch's online expansion pack, I guess. And honestly, it's pretty terrible, in my opinion. Now to start, let's do a quick rundown of the tiers in this thing before we get into the actual content, because that's also a big part of why I don't like this thing so much. Yeah, my problems start pretty much immediately. You've got 3 tiers now: the Essential, Extra, and Premium. Essential is basically the standard PlayStation Plus that we've had for a long time. $60 per year, allows you to play online. You've got a couple of free monthly games, you know the deal. The Extra provides you access to a catalog of additional PS4 and PS5 games for $100 per year, and the Premium gives you access to classics from the PS1, PS2, and PSP, as well as cloud versions, everybody's favorite, of PS3 games. Also, this gives you access to demos. So to be clear, the older stuff is on the higher tier. That's what you're paying the premium price for. And let's actually go right into the other aspect of the premium tier, the demos. Trials is what they really are, letting you play the game for like a set amount of time. I love seeing the stuff available, letting people try games before they buy them. That's great. Some solid stuff is on here too, like the new Horizon Forbidden West. But should these be restricted to the highest tier? $120 to have access to trials? Yeah, if you're just a peasant on that $100 tier, you're not good enough. You're not worthy of receiving demos. Get a better job. It's so dumb. Everyone, all tiers, should have access to this stuff. I mean, effectively restricting demos, especially restricting them to the highest tier of this service, is just gross. This is an aspect that I feel like could have been an easy dub for them. Like just having trials, everybody who's subbed any tier is allowed to play, try these games. Literally, pretty much the easiest win you could have. And Sony, of course, decided, no, we're good. So with that said, let's talk about the games. The PS4 and PS5 stuff on that extra tier, overall, the lineup is decent, I think, for a launch. The $100 tier I actually don't think is too bad. Honestly, when you factor in that most people, they need the base tier, are already at least going to pay for that, the $60 a year. Bumping that up to be able to play this other stuff, you're not getting big games day one, to be clear. So it's definitely not on par with Game Pass, even close in my opinion, but there's still stuff here I want to check out. The fancy versions of like Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding, I'm glad I don't have to pay for like the PS5 versions, the upgrade or whatever, even though I have the PS4. Now I can, since I got a sub to the service to check it out for this video, I can check out those games. I think you got a decent initial selection here. Obviously, with all these services, I'd wait until we get more of a sense of how they're going to be updated. Give it a few months, see how much actually gets added and where. But if you're going to go with one of these more expensive tiers, I'd say start with this one, see how you like it. I could see this tier being basically okay. Nothing to freak out about at the same time, okay? I'm not sitting here like, oh my god, this is just an amazing, the best lineup of game. Nothing to overhype, nothing to really be too upset about either. Unlike, in my opinion, the highest premium tier. At least in a way, I feel vindicated about the offerings. A while back, Sony released a list of games that would be included in the service, and I pointed out how small the classic lineup, the PS1, PS2, and PSP games looked. I got a bunch of people being like, oh, this is just a tease. There's going to be hundreds. And I'm like, well, the other lists, though, are pretty long. Like, it's weird that in these teases, quote-unquote, what they listed for PS4, PS5, and PS3 included quite a bit of stuff, and then you looked at the PS1, PS2, and PSP, and it was very small. Oh, you're an idiot. Don't question our Lord and Savior, Sony. Well, now that the service has launched, we've got that full list, and here it is. Here's me scrolling through the entire thing. Yeah, wow, you guys were right. That took a lot of time to comb through. Oh, wait, no, it was me who was right. This is absolutely laughable just in terms of the quantity of games. And there's still some stuff on here that I'm kind of meh about, and obviously a lot of the big killers are missing. Your Final Fantasies, no Twisted Metal, guys, like come on. Now, getting in and playing these games, for the most part, I love. This was the stuff I was hyped to play when this service was announced. Most of the games, I think, run well. The emulation is solid. Honestly, seeing stuff like the low-quality cinematics is some of my favorite stuff. I just have so much nostalgia for, like, the old Tekken 2 intro. The original Resident Evil intro, guys, I mean, this is one of the greatest things this industry has ever produced. Does it get any cooler than Wesker in that OG Resident Evil intro? I don't think it does. Yeah, so playing what little is here for the most part, I enjoyed. The stuff that was bad, though, was really bad. I didn't play everything, just a handful of stuff from every category. But the game I had a big problem with was sadly Ape Escape, because it was one I was also looking forward to checking out. For me, it was just a glitchy mess. All the textures were freaking out. In this state, it's unplayable. I did notice with a lot of these games, there's a PS4 and a PS5 version for you to select from when you download them. And this one was only available as a PS4 version, and I was on my PS5, so I don't know if that may have had something to do with it, but that's also not an excuse. Like, again, when you have such a lackluster lineup, every game should at least be running well, regardless of system. And if anything, PS5 should be prioritized, Sony. Okay, us PS5 owners, we're the real fans. Don't cater to the poors still playing on those ancient PS4s. Oh, I can't find a PS5. Buy one for $1,000 on eBay. Throw those PS4s in the garbage. Stop holding us back. So yeah, some issues. For the most part, I did enjoy what I played, but there's just far too few games here to justify this tier, in my opinion. And it's like, it's not even close. Obviously, games are going to get added over time, but this needs to go a long way before it's something I'd recommend people get. Now, the one thing I will give them here, which doesn't necessarily help the service itself as much, but rather the consumer, is unlike something like, say, the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you can buy these games individually. So while I wouldn't recommend you sign up for this service, you may see a few games that you'd rather just buy outright for the 10 to 15 bucks, and then you never have to deal with the service at all. I wish they were a little bit cheaper, but that's not too bad. Again, I'm glad that option is there, but that doesn't help the value of the service itself, because that's separate, obviously. Now, they do advertise like hundreds of classic games, whatever, and they get away with that because most of these quote-unquote classics are PS3 titles. If you go over to the PS3 section, it's pretty stacked. But remember, all these games are streaming only. So you're streaming the image from their servers to your system. You guys know the deal. If your connection just even dips for a moment, the game's going to lag. So annoying. And that's how they pad the number. I had a few people on Twitter, I was actually surprised, who didn't like me saying that they're padding the number with these cloud games. Like, oh, they're still games you can play. Yeah, but they're not as good. I don't know how people could sit here and argue that these cloud games are equal, even near equal to running games on the hardware, but I guess there are people like that out there. No one wants to stream, especially much older games like this, to their console. At least with the more advanced stuff on something like the Nintendo Switch, I can understand going with the cloud games because they're just too demanding for the Switch. Some of these people too were like, oh, Xbox, has cloud games too. What about those? Like, yeah, as an option, all the games on Xbox that have cloud versions, you can also play on the hardware, so nobody cares. No one's also trying to point to those cloud games like there's some kind of big deal, as, Sony's trying to do here with the PS3 games. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes on Twitter, I don't understand how the people I'm talking to are from even the same planet as me. But yeah, if these games were playable on the hardware, I'd be singing a different tune, because this would really beef things up. Again, there's a solid selection here, but let's be real. 99% of the people hate streaming. Don't want anything to do with this. That's why PS Now was a failure. Google Stadia, anyone? People, they just don't want this. For a lot of people, it's just not a worthy option. If you've got a connection that isn't really stable or isn't fairly high, all of these games are completely worthless to you. And so I consider them a non-factor. I do not count these games as adding any value, especially again with the PS5. The PS5 is more than capable of running these games through emulation, even if they gotta brute force them a bit more because of the terrible PS3 architecture setup. Plenty of hardware aficionados have weighed in on this. It's just Sony being cheap. And I worry also, like with the advertising up until now, the total number of games on the service. Like if they say, oh, this month we're adding 10 new games to the PlayStation Plus, but 5 of them are PS3, then well, it's basically like they're adding 5 games, in my opinion. And I think that will continue to be a thing. This is just not good enough, especially when you're going to try to compete with Xbox in this arena. Like Xbox already crushes them just with their first party games all being on Game Pass day one. I don't know if you guys watched the not E3 Xbox event the other day, but after pretty much every game, it was like, play it day one with Game Pass, day one with Game Pass. That cringy vampire game, day one with Game Pass. Forza 27, day one with Game Pass. Skyrim in space, day one with Game Pass. So right off the bat, for the same price, Game Pass is way better. And this could never catch up unless Sony goes that route, like starts putting their new games on the service, which I don't think they're very inclined to do, at least anytime soon. You know, adding your games 6 months plus after release is never going to catch up with Xbox adding everything day one. But then with this classic stuff, Xbox has the OG Xbox and 360 games, not just running on the hardware on Game Pass, but you can put your physical discs in the console and play them that way. PlayStation, they're just not even in the same league here, and it's sad because this is the area they should be curb stomping Xbox in because they have the back catalog. Xbox does not have a fraction of the history PlayStation does. But again, it's like they just decide to shoot themselves in the foot here. Even Nintendo, which I've hated on the expansion pack, I'm not even subbed to the expansion pack. But I'd rather have that over this. The library is much smaller, but it's got a good amount of stuff that I'd actually want to play, and it's half the price. So yeah, right now, in my opinion, the new PlayStation Plus is the worst of these services. And that's saying something. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the new PlayStation Plus in the comments. Have you checked out the service for yourself? Do you think it's lacking? Do you think it's going to end up being better than the others, perhaps over time? As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.